Hello, my name is Jennifer Ferreira, and thanks for joining us for yet another Gran Entrevista. With me now is Raul Dudnic, a Romanian television producer based in Toronto. Today, we'll be discussing the government's recent announcement of a fund designed to support multicultural media outlets. Thank you so much for joining us today, Raul.
Thank you for having me.
If we could start by getting to know you a little bit better and having you tell us what it is that you do.
Sure. Briefly, I'm a television producer, independent television producer, that's the title. I produce a show at Omni Television in Romanian language since 2002. Started the media career, let's call it, back in Romania in 1989. Started with the revolution, the Romanian Revolution. I was trained at the BBC Broadcasting School, and the first media job that I had in Canada was at a Portuguese base station, radio station, CIRV 88.9.
Awesome. If you could tell us a bit about what some of your duties at the radio station were.
At the time, I was producing the radio show and hosting it at the same time. Of course, we were a small team at that time, the music producer, the news producer. So, and it was a live show, a half an hour show, a weekly show, but there was only another Romanian radio program in Toronto at that time. So there were only two of us broadcasting, and there was mostly news and information from the community and of course music.
So your experience in regards to sort of Romanian media here in Canada began, you said, in 2002?
In 1995.
1995. Mm-hmm. And was that with RoMedia?
1995 was a different name. I think it was called Media Rom. So it was a different company.
Okay.
But RoMedia, as you mentioned, started in 2002 with a television program at Omni.
Perfect. And if you could tell us, you're still there now, yes? Mm. Awesome. So what are your day-to-day duties?
Well, the most important is to keep in touch with the Romanian community, knowing what's happening in the community, all the events. We cannot cover all the events, go and film and edit, but at least we keep in touch with the organizers and we promote them. And we don't charge for the events that are where there are no tickets, to pay at the entrance, or they're charitable. We don't charge for any promotion. It's different for businesses. But we keep in touch with all these businesses, all these organizers, and we are trying to tell our audience what's happening in the community, the freshest news, the freshest events, how they can get to a particular performance, no matter if it's in Hamilton or Kitchener or in Niagara or in Toronto. And then of course filming and editing, and we have to select what we put on this 1 hour
as with any journalism
exactly.
outlet, for
yep.
sure.
Yeah.
You've mentioned this focus on Romanian life here in Canada. How would you describe this? What is Romanian life in Canada like?
The Romanian community is fairly new compared to other communities. That's why Romanians don't have one particular corner in Toronto or a quarter where, like little Portugal, little Italy, little China. We don't have something. We are spread. We are everywhere, simply because most of the Romanians came after 1989, after the revolution. And because they didn't come, I would say most of them didn't come as refugees. Life is, Romania right now is part of European Union. I would call it a normal country. Romanians came here for economical reasons, to have a better life. And we came here to become Canadians, but without losing our roots, of course, and culture. As I said, Romanians are dispersed. They're everywhere. It's a large community in terms of numbers. I think there are about, in Ontario, about 220,000 Romanians, around 80,000 in the GTA. But the Romanian media is not very rich. There are only, I would say, I think 4 newspapers, bi-weeklies. There's only one weekly. There's only one Romanian TV show, Ours, and I'm not sure if there's any Romanian radio shows. But this is somehow disconnected with the fact that the Romanians are very active as businessmen, as professionals.
It's specifically in the area of media, is what you're saying,
Exactly.
that they aren't as active.
Media is basically poorly represented.
This dispersion of Romanians across the sort of Ontario general area, does it make it harder to cover Romanian-based community events?
It is, because, for example, if we would have a community center, like a Romanian community center, we don't have one. It would be easy. It would be like a magnet. Events would happen there. Politicians would go there. Like I remember the event that we covered at the same time at Luso.
The Luso Canadian Charitable Society.
That's right. Yeah, we don't have anything like that. So the only, I would say, magnets are the churches. Many Romanian churches. I think there are about 12 or 13 in the GTA. But that's a different story, right? It's religion. It's something spiritual. People are going there for other reasons.
Right. It's got a different atmosphere to it, for sure.
That's right. Yeah.
And so your experience overall in terms of covering multicultural media has been what?
In what way?
How would you describe the experience? Is it something that you sort of enjoy in terms of the fact that it is a challenge? Mm-hmm. Or is it something that you feel could be improved?
Well, definitely it can be improved. And at the same time, it is a challenge. But the third part of it, I enjoy it quite a lot, because we interact, as you know, we interact with people, we meet people. And probably ethnic media is a positive media. We don't go after, little scandals or things to uncover dirt, what's happening, if it's happening. It's a positive media. So that's the atmosphere, that's the feeling when we go to cover these events. We are always welcomed, and we basically try to show the nice, nice side of what's happening there. We're not interested in what's happening behind the curtains. It's not our job. It's basically, the job is to promote the Romanian culture within the Romanian community, but also for the non-Romanians.
You've mentioned the sort of lack of magnets, so to speak. Mm-hmm. What are some of the other challenges that you've faced working in multicultural media? Well,
financial, there's the financial issue, as you know, and I'm talking right now strictly about the TV show. As I said before, I produce a radio show, and I also edited a newspaper for about 7-8 years. But there's a challenge, the financial part, because we rely only on the advertising from the community. And as I said, the Romanian community and its members are fairly active, but it's a limited market. In one way, it's good because it's a very well-defined market by the language. On the other hand, how many businesses can you, new businesses, can you basically convince to advertise? So it's a limited market, and it has the pros and the cons.
Can you sort of go into some of those pros and cons?
Well, pros is being the only TV show in Ontario. When I go to convince an advertiser to promote his or her business in our show, I can say, well, we are the only TV station. We don't have any competition.
You sort of have a monopoly on
Exactly. The cons is the businesses that they want to extend outside the Romanian community. We cannot help them there. So we can only bring consumers or clients from the community. We cannot bring, for example, from the Portuguese community, which I would like to, but I cannot.
Is it because of a clash of mandates, so to speak? Is your sort of the goal of what you're trying to do is communicate to the Romanian community, and so because of that, you're unable to communicate beyond that community?
We can communicate beyond, but it's a technical issue. The contract that we have with Omni Television limits us to advertise in the Romanian community only. We cannot go after the so-called national advertisers, Bell Canada, I don't know, Scotiabank, TD Bank. We cannot go after these advertisers. We have to stay within the Romanian community. It's a contract we have with Omni.
And so in this case, this is where the provincial advertisement sort of comes in handy.
Mm-hmm.
In regards to the Multicultural Media Fund that was announced by the government, as you know, the fund comes as part of this year's provincial budget, which was tabled in March. The fund includes a grant of $2 million per year across 3 years for a total of $6 million, and the money, as mentioned, will go towards supporting multicultural media outlets. What was your initial reaction when you heard about this fund?
I will first time in my life vote for Liberals.
What made you say that?
Well, no other party, unfortunately, came with something similar, close to this. So it's the first opportunity that we might get some financing from the government. And it's not that the Liberals love us so much. It's because it's the first time that, for whatever reasons, this government basically are really interested in ethnic media. It's the government, they are in power right now, and hopefully this will materialize somehow. We don't know yet how, we'll see. But I'm pretty sure NDP and the Conservatives would like to basically help us and would like to take advantage of us in a good way, right? To communicate their messages to our audience.
So essentially you think that there is a sort of value in expanding into multicultural media outlets? Absolutely
it is. The problem, one of the problems that we face is that we are not known as media, ethnic media outlets or whatever, ethnic media in general. We are not known to other advertisers than our advertisers from the community. For example, if the government wants to, they have good intentions and they want to advertise, promote something, right? The health ministry or something like that. They don't know about our audience. They don't know how many Romanians there are. They don't know how many they're watching the TV show. Is it like a real TV show? Is it political? Is it religious? Is it what kind of show it is? They don't know. So I'm talking about the Romanian program, but there are all the others ethnic producers, and as far as I know, Omni has in total about 40 or 42 ethnic producers, different ethnic programs. So if you take each of these ethnic programs separately, it's not a lot, it's not a huge market. Put them together and probably you'll have a larger audience than the mainstream media stations, TV stations.
You were talking about the difficulty sort of obtaining advertisement when it comes to multicultural media outlets because of a lack of sort of awareness about these outlets. Can you go into a little more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go a little, back in time. We are a group of TV producers that, from Omni, that we face the same challenges, and we got together and said, okay, let's make ourselves known. We met different politicians from different level of the governments, from municipal to provincial to federal, and we basically asked for help. In all of these situations, we saw very positive reaction, and everybody we talked to, they were ready to help, willing to help. Problem was, as we mentioned before, they didn't know about us They didn't know anything about us, what we are doing, like what's our audience and so on. So we had to start from scratch with each of these politicians that we met, explaining them, okay, this is what we do, this is what we want, this is what we need, and this is why we need this. Because, let's put it this way, ethnic media, it's, I would say, in danger. Some outlets, they're doing better, some outlets, they're not doing so well, because each outlet basically is has the I would say the face of his or her owner or manager or director. So I can give you my example. I'm not a very good businessman, and I tend to do a lot of concessions to my advertisers, which is not good. I would need somebody
From
to
a
be
business standpoint,
exactly.
fair
That's
enough.
right. I'm good probably at other things, but not at selling my show and my advertising time as well as a marketing person would. So this is one of the challenges. There are the producers who are very good at selling their shows, but probably not so good in, I don't know, interviewing people, or I don't know, they don't have a journalistic background. So other issues there.
You mentioned speaking with politicians in regards to trying to obtain funding, and their answer has sort of been, we can't help you because of this lack of information. Is that correct?
Yeah, the answer was, we need to know a little more about this, and let's keep in touch, and let's do a follow-up. And usually the follow-up didn't happen until now. We tried, I can give you an example. We tried, I think it was last year, like this small group of producers that we are meeting with different politicians, and we reached the conservatives, the provincial conservatives, right, last year, and they were willing to help us with Ethnic Media Week. We wanted to have an Ethnic Media Week to basically invite all the ethnic media outlets and have this once a year in May, I think it was. And it was a bill. It was supposed to be passed in the legislation. Well, until the divergence, like the problem started between the three parties. So it died because of this political. So
in terms of the fact that it was the conservatives you went to as opposed to the other parties.
Exactly, that's right. So I don't know and I'm not very. I was not very interested about why this thing didn't go through, because it was such a simple and innocent, right, initiative. It didn't go through because of the
conflict.
Yeah, the conflicts, and we left it there. I said at that time, you know what, I don't care anymore. It's we'll take care of our business. But meanwhile, the interesting thing is, I had an interview, a one-on-one interview with the Premier, with Kathleen Wynne. I think it was last year in September or so. And we were talking about the major issues that the Liberals wanted to
address,
communicate,
so to speak.
But also we were talking about the ethnic media. That was, a
topic of discussion.
That
for
definitely.
Sure.
And at that time, I was under the impression that yes, something will be done. Now, right now there is a compartment. I don't know how to call it. It's OMDC, Ontario Media Development Commission. I think it's called. It's part of the government, the provincial government, that deals with grants for different media initiatives. Yeah, right. We don't qualify, like when we say we, again, I'm talking about the independent producers that produce these shows at Omni, because our show was designated as news show, which is not news. We don't do exclusively news in our shows, but that's how they identified us, they meaning the OMDC. So we didn't qualify for these grants because we were simply because we were designated as news. Now, if I say, it's not news, it's entertainment, suddenly we qualify.
You qualify, right?
Yeah.
And all of it depends on this designation handed to you by this particular
That's right.
organization.
So it didn't work, and hopefully this new initiative of the premier of the government will not follow the same rules.
Got it. Well, you did mention until now, and as part of the fund, the government has announced support when it comes to developing statistical data for these multicultural media outlets to help them obtain provincial advertising. Is this something that you think all multicultural media outlets, and specifically yours, could benefit from?
Yeah, absolutely. I know for sure that the newspapers, for example, the ethnic newspapers, they get regularly announcements from the government for different events or different, I don't know how to call them, happenings. We don't as ethnic media producers, because all of these go through Omni, we are linked to Omni, the parent company, that's right. So we don't get these announcements, and it would be nice if we could get some of those.
Do you think there's any reason to be skeptical when it comes to this new multicultural media fund?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing would be if the Liberals will not win the elections, or even if they win the elections and they'll win minority only. We don't know if this will survive. If the Liberal will win the elections and they will implement this program, we don't know yet how the distribution of this fund will work. We are not equal in terms of audience, in terms of I don't know, the size of the outlets. We don't know how this distribution will be done. Like you might get I don't know, $1 million, and the I don't know, Romanian or the Hungarian or the Serbian program, they'll get like $500 a year. So
realistically, how do you see this playing out? Is, in your opinion, the idea of going for perhaps larger multicultural media outlets and those receiving more money, is that realistically how you would assume this fund to play out if it does go through?
Yeah, I've absolutely no idea. I have no idea, because there wasn't anything like this done before in Ontario. So my guess is that the government doesn't know yet. So I think there is a team that works for, implementing this, but I think they're working exactly like you asked me right now, how this is going to happen. It's exactly the questions that the question that they have to answer to, and that's what they're probably working on right now.
Touching upon this idea of viewership and how many viewers does a particular outlet have, can you sort of speak to perhaps the validity of this information? Do you think that statistics are going to be easy to obtain for multicultural media outlets?
If the government is willing to pay for these statistics, then yeah, they will be fairly accurate, I guess. There are ways of measuring the audience, easy for the newspapers, not so easy for radio and TV, but still there are ways of measuring, but this costs money. I cannot afford, and we cannot afford to do these polls for the government. The government should do this, and it should be part of their research. It's money that we need, or access to if it's not necessarily about grants, receiving direct financial assistance, to basically have access to different agencies of the government, departments of the government, that we can negotiate directly with them about promoting their services and having their voice or messages come across to our community. Yeah. So that would be huge help, which right now we don't have access to those.
Well, it was a pleasure having you on our show today, Raul. Thank you so much for being here at our Correio de Manhã Canada studios, and thank you to you at home for watching. My name is Jennifer, and this has been yet another Gran Entrevista. Thank you and have a good night.